Joining us live from Tuscaloosa, the one and only Desmond Howard. Des, top of the morning to you. Well, it's kind of afternoon now. How we feeling, my friend?
What's up?
I'm feeling great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the show. I didn't know if I was going to get my segment in because Ryan Clark kept going on and on and on about this MMA fight. I'm like, listen, man, people want to talk about Alabama, Texas, man, so let's go.
That's right.
Absolutely. I see the crowd's already behind you. I love it. All right, let's get into it. So, Des, should Alabama be on upset alert?
Absolutely, Molly. I believe so. When you look at Nick Saban, and Stephen A., I know that you've been paying great attention to Nick Saban in these press conferences. He opened the season with doing something he normally, doesn't do, which is he did not release his too deep, didn't want to say who the quarterback was. Eventually, they said that Jalen Milroe would be the starter for week 1, but I don't think they're set on him being the starter throughout the season. So when something like that happens, especially with a coach like Nick Saban, I think there's reason for concern. Now, Jalen Milroe, we saw him last year play start against Texas A&M, and they won that game. He's a great dual-threat quarterback, but his default is to run. And you don't want that for your quarterback if he's going to be the starter throughout the season, because defenses, they're going to prepare for that. And I think Texas is going to be ready. And Texas, with Quinn Ewers, this is a young man who came into Austin, transfer from Ohio State with a mullet, and had the season he had a year ago. Didn't go the way they expected, so he changed his body, changed his diet, cut off his mullet, which is very serious for a young man of his age to cut off his mullet. And now he has a different perspective, not only on football, but on life. So I think they're going to come in here in Tuscaloosa knowing that they let one slip away in Austin a year ago when Quinn Ewers got hurt. So I believe that when you look at Alabama's defensive backs, too, they're a little banged up. And you're looking at this Texas receiving corps with A.D. Mitchell, the receiver who came over from Georgia to transfer, and, of course, Xavier Worthy. They got some firepower, serious firepower out there on the perimeter.
Stephen A., it's always a good idea to cut off your mullet. I just wanted to add that.
Okay. I wouldn't know anything about that. Let me move on. Let me tell you this, man. When I think about Alabama, Des, and that's hype, it ain't too much better in life than college football game day. I loved being there with y'all last year in Jackson State. It was one of the highlights.
Is it really epic? Because it looks like it's epic when I watch on TV.
It's off the chain, especially being on the set with the crew, Herb Street and Reese and McAfee, and, of course, my man Des. I mean, ain't nothing to talk about. It don't get no better than that. But I got to ask you this question. When I bring up Alabama, here's the thing. You lost your field general in Bryce Young. You also lost it on the defensive side of the ball, Will Anderson. I'm wondering, has Nick Saban had to deal with that in the past? Is this foreign to him, or is this something that he's pretty accustomed to dealing with in your estimation?
Well, Nick Saban has done an extraordinarily, just exceptional job at recruiting, and we understand that he's bringing in 5 stars all the time. But with that being said, Stephen A., you hit it right on the head. I mean, you're looking at a quarterback that was a once-in-a-generational type of quarterback and a tremendous leader, right? And then you lose a defensive leader, too. So I don't think he's had to replace that type of talent, plus married with the leadership that both players brought to both sides of the football. That's really different. I think that's why it's been such a struggle trying to figure out who's going to be the starting quarterback. Because when you lose a Bryce Young, this young man won the Heisman, and what he brought to the team, he was such a difference maker. Don't forget, this isn't a team, Alabama, that was just going out there and rolling over a lot of their opponents. Oftentimes, they were in close games where Bryce Young had to be damn near a magician to pull out some things out of his hat so they could win those games. And now when games are nick and tuck like that, is it going to be Jalen Milroe? Is he going to be able to produce the same magic? And then you mentioned Will Anderson. I mean, this guy, he was like a Terminator on the field.
How devastating would a Colorado loss to Nebraska be in killing their momentum?
I tell you what, Molly, Stephen A. hit it on the head. We were at Jackson State. Not only did we have Stephen A. on the set, but we also had Coach Prime. I mean, and what he's meant to college football in a short period of time where he's been in Boulder, Colorado, I don't even think you can put a price tag on it. You can't even express how important he is. He's been probably the most significant hire in the past decade as far as college football coaches are concerned. And they have a hell of a wave right now. They were a 3-touchdown underdog to TCU a week ago, and they went in there in the Fort Worth, and they upset number 17 TCU. So they're riding a huge wave. I was just in Boulder. I did interviews with Travis Hunter. They're an amazing, phenomenal two-way superstar. And, of course, Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback. I think that now mentally they're prepared for this. Their mantra this week is personal. It's personal. So now they let TCU, they left that behind. Now they've moved on to Nebraska. And listen, I saw Nebraska a week ago against Minnesota. And if they lose to Nebraska, this would be a devastating blow to Colorado based on what they accomplished a week ago when they took on TCU and upset the world.
Well, Des, here's number one. First of all, Molly left out the biggest news. I'm going to be there. I'm showing up.
God.
Prime asked me to be there.
So you're really
I'm
going to Colorado?
I'm flying to Colorado.
When?
Tomorrow morning. I'm flying to Colorado.
Wow.
I'm flying to Colorado. And not only that, Shannon Sharp is meeting me there. So from you going from L.A., I'm coming from New York.
And then you and Shannon have another. You guys have another date
and then we'll be together on Monday Night Football. You see what I'm saying? So I'm doing that, Des. That's she left out the biggest news. That's number one. Number two, let me ask you this. I'm watching because I totally agree with you. It'll be devastating. You can't talk and bloviate the way Prime did at the media because you won one game and then turn around, even though it's the national runner-up, TCU, you won that game, but turn around and lose to Nebraska. Even though Matt Rule, I got confidence he'll steer them in the right direction. You just can't do that. My issue is this. I looked at Colorado, and I know he only got 10 scholarship players from last year's team, 83, 86 new players.
Yeah.
Des, they looked faster.
Yeah.
They looked more athletic. They looked better than the national runner-up. Was my eyes deceiving me?
No, not at all. And they played at a hyper speed, too. They came out with an offensive system that they were running plays like almost every 12 to 14 seconds. And you can tell that they had the athletes. And going into this game, Stephen, I'm glad you mentioned that, a lot of the naysayers, a lot of the doubters, they thought that where TCU would have an advantage would be at the line of scrimmage, in the trenches. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're going to bully Colorado. But that didn't happen. Colorado has some horses up front too, but then they have the skill on the perimeter that's going to give a lot of team fits. But more importantly, Stephen A., they got the trigger man. Shedeur Sanders is a legitimate Heisman contender right now. He went on the road in TCU, threw for over 500 yards for 4 touchdowns, including the game winner late in the fourth quarter, and showed the poise, the skill level, and the high football IQ that you will look for in an exceptional quarterback. So they do have the skill.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.